Dear friends, as promised is a debt. On this occasion, we are going to begin a series of videos related to the analysis of the criminal case that has been of national resonance at the time. I am talking about the 90s. Here in our country, Argentina, there was an event that moved the entire Argentine nation, and it was the Maria Soledad Morales case, in which unfortunately a young woman almost graduated from high school in the city of Catamarca lost her life. Last year, I told you that a subscriber from Mexico brought me some questions of concern related to case analysis. As you know, I am a criminal lawyer, so I am very involved in criminal issues, so I had some requests that at the time, unfortunately, I still could not attend to. I have been looking at some names that are also related to the gender issue, because they were precisely the cases that were sent to me from here in Mexico so that I could analyze them. As is the occasion in which we are going to analyze now the Maria Soledad Morales case of this young woman from Catamarca. I could not do it at the time, but I believe that this case has been brought to the famous platform of Netflix recently. I'm not much into browsing movie issues, but as I saw that they had mentioned me, they asked me, how do you know I do criminal a lot? What opinion did you have in relation to the documentary that Netflix had uploaded in relation to the Maria Soledad Morales case? So, as they are transcendental, I said, well, I'm going to look at it, because my followers and subscribers also asked me, and it seemed like a very good opportunity to unite that concern with that request that once ascended me case analysis. So as a promise is a promise, as I said, we are going to start analyzing the Maria Soledad Morales case, and we are going to do an analysis of the documentary that has recently been published on the Netflix platform. Stay calm, dear, that you are watching from the other side. I thank you very much for your time, and thank you for other videos of legitimate affection. The messages that I have of thousands of messages, sometimes I can't answer everything because there are so many messages, but I do want you to know that I am looking at all the ones I can, and that I know that you are always attentive with that very genuine gesture of support. I thank you very much. So we are going to start analyzing the Maria Soledad Morales case. The case, as I was telling you, I'll tell you in advance, I thought it was very, very interesting the way in which the documentary was presented, from what point of view, or from what points of view the documentary, I think, does not last 2 hours, but it is very abundant for the analysis of both. As we say in criminal law, we say the factual element or the facts, or speaking more commonly, I will say, what happened in the Maria Soledad Morales case, and what role it has from the point of view of the community so that it can be useful to us. Tremendous, tremendous tragedy that occurred with this young woman almost graduated from high school in a halo of innocence. You can see if the documentary is commented on by several of the people who were protagonists at that time. There were 2 fascinating oral trials of a fascinating analysis. That's why I tell you I can't help but go through the question of criminal science or criminal procedure. It's fascinating because there are 2 trials developed. One is annulled according to the documentary, and then another oral trial develops, which is really for those who see it with the eyes of a criminal lawyer. It's really fascinating material, and beyond clearly, right? That there are questions of law that are linked to criminal law, fundamentally linked sometimes to situations that are too tragic in the life of a human being. But let's start, and I'm going to tell you who Maria Soledad Morales was. I hope I don't get emotional and have to cut the video in the middle of the recording because just mentioning her moves me, right? Those who know me know that I have that side of being a little sensitive, so I'm going to ask you to be a little patient with me in that sense. If necessary, we'll edit it. Morales was a young woman from Catamarca who was finishing her secondary school with the concern along with her classmates. The testimony seemed wonderful to me, so legitimate, so full of love. What I was able to observe from the human point of view, beyond that, unfortunately, to these brave women who dared to appear in the documentary, or to elaborate this work that not only serves to pay a humble tribute to the memory of Maria Soledad Morales. I also want to emphasize that these small videos, these small and humble analyses that I am going to elaborate in relation to the documentary of the trial and the issues that she suffered in life, are a humble and genuine tribute to the memory of Maria Soledad Morales, and a gesture, of course, of well-deserved love. Consideration to her family who so much pain, and I imagine that still not the memory of her there is a little moving, so let this simple and small tribute to the memory of Maria Soledad Morales with much love and with much affection. I was telling you that these women who were companions, I think they are approximately around the age of 45 to 50 years and more. My memory does not fail me from what I could hear in the documentary. They tell the story in such a genuine way that it moves, right? They tell what she was like, what stories they experienced, what happened to them, what were the ideas of young people of the age of 18. We place ourselves in that context. They are a group of young people. Maria Soledad Morales, this young Argentine, and from Catamarca, was with what they call today, right? The boys promoted it, yes, trying to find funds or raise funds to make a trip to the city of Córdoba. We Argentines all know the city of Carlos Paz de Córdoba, which is wonderful. It is noted for its beauty, and it is noted as well as Bariloche, which sometimes is also a tourist place very visited by international tourists, and of course by the people of Argentina. In Bariloche, it is a point that everyone wants to go to. Then Maria Soledad, together with her group of companions, almost graduated from high school at the Colegio del Carmen, where this school was presided over, and now we are going to analyze it a little more in other videos ahead in depth by the nun sister. Yes, a very well-known nun here in Argentina, who is Sister Poloni. Sister Poloni to this day has her foundation, if I remember correctly, the name of Stolen Childhood. So imagine the significance that at the time she was already dedicated to this type of tasks. Not at that time she was the director of the Colegio del Carmen, from which Maria Soledad would have graduated. Yes, the fortune or the situation that unfortunately she had to live, in which she lost her life, in which her family lost their daughter, would not have happened so tragically. That night of September 7th, 1990, Maria Soledad were, as I was saying, raising funds to see if they could gather the money so that all the girls could go to Marcos Paz. That was the idea of the group. Yes, there were some who could not pay themselves, could not afford the trip to Córdoba. So among all they agreed, as the boys from school usually do, or at the university, it is also usually the style, they got together to raise funds. Then they had the idea of doing a dance in a place there in Catamarca, and Maria Soledad was with her companions. At one point, this young woman from Catamarca was very beautiful, but she also had an elementary characteristic, that was she had a very sweet smile. I invite you to watch the documentary, and that also in parallel we can follow the analysis, and that you leave me your comments. To me, what caught my attention of Maria Soledad is precisely something that one of her companions mentions in one of the comments of the documentary, that says that she was the owner of a wonderful innocent smile. So that is the memory that I remember about Maria Soledad, her sweet smile, her girlish look, really touching. They were then, as I was saying, collecting funds, and they had this idea of having a dance in a discotheque, the dance place. They held a meeting for the election of a queen that night. A queen of precisely in the month of September, the month of spring flowers. She agreed. Maria Soledad, being in Catamarca, apparently had nowhere to stay in that place, so one of her companions offered her house, so she could stay the night because her house was a long way away. Therefore, when Maria Soledad came to the place where the dance was going to be held, her companion offered her the house, so she could stay the night, and the next day she would clearly return home, her home, and also of course on Monday, then like all the kids, to high school. We said the Colegio del Carmen in the city of Catamarca, that night approximately between 2 and 3 in the morning, approximately. Here we are already talking about what criminal law calls the facts when there is a part of gossip, this apart from a part in the complaint, which is when it is done that it is narrated. What happened then? I am going to tell you what happened that is more closely linked in relation to what was just done was a context. Now I am going to tell you what happened in relation to the unfortunate situation that this victim of this event had to witness. She left the club approximately between 2 and 3 in the morning. She goes out and leaves. She goes to a bus stop. At that bus stop, apparently according to the narration of some witnesses, she was seen for the last time later. Later it happens in the chronology, or in the order, yes, of the works that were happening. It happens the next day. The father and the family of course begin to investigate, we say in science, but they begin to find out why Maria Soledad had not returned home, and her father begins to worry, and of course begins to go. Before, there were not so many telephones, so much technology. We are not talking about the 90s. She begins to arrive at her classmate's house until Monday, when she arrives at school. Sister Poloni, surprised, narrates in the documentary that Mr. Morales, Maria Soledad's father, arrives in a state of absolute desperation, trying to get his sister to somehow make that link, that connection, because he, like a father or a mother, suspects that there is some issue that young people do not want to talk about. So he goes and says, well, I don't think that talking to the director was a good idea, to see if he could get some kind of useful information about where his daughter was. So the sister goes to the classroom. This was already Monday when Maria Soledad was seen on Saturday, approximately that previous Saturday, Friday, September 7th, I think it falls exactly. She was seen at the bus stop. She was not seen again. So what Sister Poloni does is go to the classroom and start asking the girls who were there, her classmates, if they knew where Maria Soledad was. Well, within those inquiries, of course, the police were notified, the Catamarca police intervened, they began to do what is popularly known as the raking, the inquiries of the witnesses. I am talking about criminal knowledge. The documentary does not show you specifically, but I will tell you more or less what is done when this happens. Some will know, others more, others less, or some that it is to call the people who could have seen her, or in the last place that the person was. The interview was done with the witnesses, through the police. A place was raked, and there came a time when a corpse appeared there in a part, let's say, like in a vacant lot. I am going to tell you yes, I don't know if it was or was not a vacant lot, but it was a lot that was in the vicinity of the city, let's say, but the lifeless corpse of the young Maria Soledad was dumped there. Unfortunately, after hours, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the corpse appeared. Of course, her body was found. Family, in a state of absolute despair, unfortunately find out that the body that was lying there totally destroyed belonged to whoever was alive, Maria Soledad Morales. The news is released the media of Catamarca according to the statements of the witnesses and the evidence that was brought to the case complex transcendental. Apparently the corpse was in a totally disfigured state, in a tremendous state of cruelty, as it is called a little in criminal law, when the corpse is very bad. The person has been very mistreated. If it can be in life or not, that is already a question of forensic medicine. I am not going to go into that, but what I want to tell you is that it was completely disfigured. Nevertheless, they found the body of Maria Soledad. Of course, once they find out, all of Catamarca goes into panic, so to speak, with tremendous fear. No one knew who had been the author of such a tremendous crime, so cruel, and the way in which they threw the body Maria Soledad. In the words of the father later, I will stop to analyze that which seemed very important to me. When it touches Don Morales, the father of Maria Soledad, it is shocking just to remember it. He tells the judge of the case in the oral trial that he did not wish even his daughter's murderer to see the state in which his daughter's corpse was controlled. Imagine the situation of vulnerability, pain, and despair that the father, the mother, a relative of a victim of this type can find themselves in. The father's statement is tremendous. It is heartbreaking. If there is something that the criminal trial has that is very valuable to resolve a case, unfortunately, life, as I usually say, occurs in matters like this of loss of life, especially of all people, not because no life is unworthy because of age or whatever, every life is worth it, but when a situation like that of Maria Soledad occurs, that calls for reflection, and being in the role of the family that had to go through the trial, the lawyers are we are a little more accustomed to this situation. But yes, there is something, and here I wanted to stop, that the criminal trial has that is very valuable. It is the immediacy. Why? Because in the immediacy, which is having the witness face to face, not the judge has the witness, be it a doctor, an expert, a witness who saw what he knows. Something that is brought to trial by one of the parties. We are not going to go into that because we are not finished. This is an introduction to what happened to Maria Soledad, and then we will continue analyzing the other parts. Above all, the trial and some aspects of some procedural subjects that are very interesting, and as it affects us as a society. I was telling you that the immediacy in the criminal trial is totally and absolutely without waste. That is why the witness in trial is so important. In this case, we are talking about the father of Maria Soledad. I invite you to watch the documentary that is uploaded. It is brief. The statement of the father is advanced. I think half of the documentary, a little further on, you will see the genuineness, you will see the sincerity. That is why it is so valid and so important. When we have knowledge of a criminal act, let us go to make the complaint, and when they call us to testify, let us go to put our grain of sand, because you do not need to be a lawyer knowledgeable of laws trained. No. Just say what you saw, say what the judge needs, because it is our way of contributing to the cause. We have that valuable possibility of contributing to the cause. That is why I encourage you that if there is any situation like this, especially concerning, as in this case, that we are chatting a little not without technicality of the issue of Maria Soledad, this is the fact, then we're going to get the idea, because we are going to do several parts of this issue. Is a young woman from Catamarca, Argentina, who loses her life in an accusation in a trial for sexual abuse. There was also a drug issue there. Several issues. I'm going to tell you as the story progresses. If this girl loses her life and a person is arrested, and that will be part 2. Once the body of Maria Soledad Morales is found in a state like I told you, the body was disfigured. When they detect that she was Maria Soledad, the young woman was missing in Catamarca, they evidently proceed to do the investigation, and within that investigation it was learned that she had had a relationship in some way with one of the accused in the case, who is Luis Tula. Luis Tula is one of the accused in the case that was subsequently to the discovery of the body of Maria Soledad. May God preserve her memory in his holy glory. This man was arrested and questioned, but then as they did not find sufficient evidence or, in the opinion of the body, that Luis Tula should be arrested, who is one of the accused, as a suspect of having committed the murder of Maria Soledad in this context of abuse. Rape is popularly known as a rape followed by death. So that you understand me, he is arrested and then released due to lack of evidence. I'm going to leave you here. I want to ask you, what did you think of the video? If you found it interesting, because I'm going to invite you, please, or rather I'm going to ask you to leave me a like, to leave me your opinion, to let me see if you're interested in this type of issues. And in the next video, we're going to start with the figure of Luis Tula, the first defendant. And for what reason was this defendant later released? And how is the case progressing? Maria Soledad Morales, what is a transcendental cause that should call us to deep reflection, to each one of us, for their complex situation, and for the characteristics in which, unfortunately, Maria Soledad lost her life, and we lost her, as they say several times out there in the documentary, and one of the witnesses said on that occasion, it could have been some other young girl later. We don't know. There are so many issues that today we have to be careful, so well over there it doesn't work either for call us to reflect. I hope that the video has interested you. I ask you again, I am going to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are already more than 320 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I thank you very much. I am going to thank you for your comments, your likes. That helps me a lot so that the video reaches more people and is a tool of curiosity or help. There is varied content on the channel that can be useful to you, and I hope that it is of interest to you. So well, in the next video, we are going to begin to analyze the issues already of the arrest of the accused and move forward with the case. Maria Soledad Morales, I thank you very much for your time, your attention. See you in the next video.